might get a call to play for a gig on a Friday night, and then 2 or 3 days later, you get another call to play on the same Friday night. Well, always show up for the first call that you accepted. Don't ever take a call and cancel it because another player wants you and they want to pay you a few dollars more. Never do that. That's short-sighted.
Your favorite drummer, all the way from Chicago, Illinois, Mr. Andrew Blaze Thomas.
Hey everybody, this is your favorite drummer and Blues Music Award winner, Andrew Blaze Thomas. And today, I have a valuable lesson for you. Today, I'm going to discuss something from my new book, You Got the Gig, Here's How to Keep It, A Working Musician's Model for Success. Chapter 5 is what we're going to be talking about today. Do you have respect for your gig? See, when you get a call to play a gig, you got the call because they already know your name. They already know that you can play. Your reputation for playing has preceded you. Somebody saw something special in your talent and they decided to give you a chance to play on their gig. That is crucial. It's important because it means that you've did the hard work already, which means you've been practicing, you've been already out there working and playing gigs, and now you've got the attention of somebody new that don't know you. So you must remember, they're taking a gamble just hiring you. So since they gambled on you and you've been the person to get the call to play this gig, you must remember, it's all about respect. So the first thing you definitely want to do is show up and show out. It sounds simple, but in this crazy business of ours, showing up is not always the easiest thing to do. Because when you get a lot of work in the business and your name precedes yourself and people start to really take notice of your playing and you start to take off in this business, a lot of times different bands start calling you. And you might get a call to play for a gig on a Friday night, and then 2 or 3 days later, you get another call to play on the same Friday night. Well, always show up for the first call that you accepted. Don't ever take a call and cancel it because another player wants you and they want to pay you a few dollars more. Never do that. That's short-sighted. If you cancel a gig in a short amount of time, like last minute, just because you want to play with another band to earn more money, trust me, the other band will find out. They're going to see you playing with that other band on social media and word will spread. See, artists and bands, they talk all the time. And they always talk about who can play, first of all, who's good, but who's reliable as well, who's a person of their word. So don't ever give an artist an opportunity to have something bad to say about you, like you didn't show up to a gig that they hired you for, just because you want to go play with somebody else that might pay an extra 50 or $100 more. For the short term, it might sound like the proper thing to do to earn more money, but for the long term, trust me, when you get that stain on your record for canceling last minute on the artist, that's a reputation that's hard to live down. So you do not want this. You want to be known as being reliable. You want to be known that you're going to show up and play respectfully and you're going to kill it when you do. When you develop that reputation, you will work constantly in this business. Trust me, I know. Now, there are exceptions to this rule. For example, if you get a call to do a local bar gig or a small club gig and it's a month away or maybe 3 weeks away, and then you get another call for a long-term possibility of a lucrative world touring gig, then and only then, it may be okay to cancel that one bar gig. But if you do cancel a gig, make sure you have a sub for the gig. You gotta line up a substitute. You don't call a band leader or an artist saying that I can't make it to your gig that's coming up in 2 weeks without somebody else that can replace you. In order to have replacements, somebody that you can vouch for that play just as well as you do, that can sub a gig for you, that means you have to have valuable networking skills. Every artist, especially us drummers, we should have 2 or 3 drummers, my good friends that are musicians, on speed dial, because I never know if I can't make a gig, I can always call somebody reliable that can definitely step in and sub for me. So if I give an artist bad news and say, hey, I can't make it to your show, but I have somebody that's going to be there, that really helps. It really helps for those ill feelings and bad feelings that an artist may develop if you cancel their gig. If you find yourself in a situation when you have to cancel a gig and the artist asks you, why can't you make it? Never lie. Don't ever lie and say, oh, well, I can't make it because I'm going to go to my sister's wedding, or I got a doctor's appointment, or something like that. Tell the truth. Be honest. Now, if you think an artist may be spiteful and upset, if you think that you tell them that I can't make it to your gig because I got a lucrative tour offer, I'm going on a world tour and I can't make your bar gig, if you think that they're going to be upset with that, don't give them a reason at all why you can't make it. Just double down with the same thing. When you call them and tell them, hey, I can't make the gig, just keep it at that. I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it. If they say, why can't you make it? I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it, but I got you a sub. Don't tell them why. Just keep circulating the conversation. Do that because you want to avoid lying, but at the same time, you don't want to develop ill feelings with an artist. Some artists get very upset when they hear that you're going to play with somebody else. Some artists are very possessive. Now, if you're a band leader, singer, and artist, and you're hearing this, trust me, side musicians like us, we go through this stuff all the time. We need for you guys to be flexible because you must understand, if you only have a few gigs booked per year, you must realize side musicians, we need to play constantly to pay our bills. So don't be appalled and dismayed if one of your band leaders can't make the gig, especially if they're respectful enough to offer you a sub. The thing about lying goes like this. If you lie to a band leader and tell them you can't make a gig for some made up reason, when they see you playing on social media with that other band that you didn't tell them about, they're going to be awfully upset. And social media travels everywhere now. Anytime you play a gig, somebody's putting that up on Facebook, YouTube, it's somewhere. You know, it might be on your Instagram. So always remember, never lie to a band leader. Now, there's another rule that goes with this thing too. This little thing of ours, I like to say. If an artist calls you and hires you for a major tour, if they buy you a plane ticket, that means that they invested in you months ahead of time. When you have an opportunity to do an overseas tour, if you're going to another country, or suppose it's New York, LA, somewhere really cool, it's a big major tour, that means they bought hotel rooms, flights, there's posters with your name and picture on it. There's a lot of business and paperwork that goes into gigs and a lot of preparation that goes into tours. So you must remember, if you say yes to a tour and they buy you that plane ticket, you gotta go. Unless it's a family emergency or a health problem. Other than that, get on the plane and do your job. Now, you might get away with canceling a bar gig or a local club gig with an artist, but if you cancel a tour, man, oh man, no artist likes that. Your name is mud. Be prepared. If you cancel a tour, be prepared for that artist to drag your name through the mud. They just do it. That's the nature of the business because they're upset. They can't believe something so important to them as a tour is something that you would decide to opt out on. So, like I said before, if you get that plane ticket, you got to go. Now, there's a really cool saying that us Chicago musicians have. It's called the art of the double dip. See, in Chicago, in the summertime especially, spring, summer, fall, the business really picks up. And it's very common that you can get an opportunity to play a morning gig, a midday gig, and a night gig. You can pull this off if the gigs are within, just a few miles of each other. And when you have more than one gig in an evening, I like to call that, or we like to call that, the double dip. Now, the double dip is something that some blues artists, jazz artists, Chicago artists, period, mastered. See, for us drummers, let's suppose you have, like, if you're a Chicago musician, your day may go like this. You might have a 6 o'clock Navy Pier gig, and you might play Navy Pier, which is right downtown. You know, everybody in Chicago knows what Navy Pier is, right on the water, and they have bands there in the summertime. So if you get a Navy Pier gig, and it's at 6 o'clock, you show up at 5, you set your drums up, you play from 6 to maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then you might have a 9:30 Blues on Halsted or Buddy Guy or Kingston Mines gig. Now those gigs are possible to make. 9 o'clock to 9:30 start is a sharp window, and in Chicago in the summertime, you never know when there could be Lakeshore Drive traffic. Now, a trip that can, easily take you 5 or 10 minutes to make, in the summertime with traffic can take a half an hour to make, which means if you get off one gig at 9 o'clock and you're trying to make it to the next start time at 9:30, it can cause you to be late. No artist cares why you leave early or why you showing up late. They don't care. They want you to respect their time and their gig. So these are the reasons why some artists are able to pull it off, because they do things like this. For example, I got a few buddies that mastered the double dip. They may have 2 drum sets, because this requires 2 drum sets. They show up to the second club they're going to play early in the day, when the club first opens, 4 or 5 o'clock in the daytime. They show up there, set their drums up. Then they have another drum set in the car. They go play their first gig with the drum set that they have in the car. And then after that gig, they break it down real fast, put it back in the car, drive all the way across town, get to the second gig where the drum set they already set up early is there. They give valet parking, and they walk right into the gig with less than a minute to spare, and they make it on time. Now, you got guys that run their business like this. They pull it off, men and women. But this is the thing. I don't like to run my business that way. It's too stressful for me. I've been in this situation where I'm trying to double dip because I've seen my other friends do it. And the bad luck things that happen to me, every time I double dip, the first artist that I'm playing with, it seems like the gig goes a bit longer. Sometimes the artists tell you, well, you only got to play 2 hours, but they might make a mistake and it could be a 3-hour event. So now you're asked to play an extra hour. Or there might be some guy that put an extra $100 in a tip jar asking for the band to play 20 minutes longer. Well, the band want to play to get that extra tip money, so they expect you to stay and play with them. But you're trying to get out the door to get to your next gig. The third thing that could happen, what if it's a crowded venue and it's hard to get your gear through the venue? All these things can prohibit you and impede you from making your night gig on time. Like I say, some artists, they master the double dip, but for me, I don't like it. I don't like to run my business this way. So what I do is, I only accept 1 gig per evening. The only way I double dip if it's an early morning gig and a late evening gig. So I know that these 2 times won't intercept. For example, if I get a noon gig at like a bar, restaurant, club, country club, some type of soft style gig that I can play during the day for an hour or 2, I'll take that gig. And then I know if I got a nighttime gig starting at 9 o'clock and it's in the same city, I will not have a problem with making both gigs. Now, I don't do this if I have a gig in 2 different cities or 2 different towns, because you never know what might happen in between the driving from one town to the next. Even if it's a 100-mile radius, 100-mile trip, you just don't know. You could get a flat tire. Anything can happen to make you late. And tardiness is the thing that no professional musician wants to be doing. You don't want to be late to anything. Tardiness is what you do not need, because when you be late, that's the thing that can cause a band leader not to call you back for any more gigs. See, you must remember, when you're a side musician, drummer, no matter how good you think you are, you're expendable. That means that there are plenty of other musicians that will love to take your place, especially if you're in a major city like Chicago. So, it matters. Punctuality matters. And be real careful if you want to be part of that double dip club, because you have to master it with great precision. Like I say, I don't run my business this way, but if you do, be careful. Now, let's discuss the festival double dip. The festival double dip is when you're on a big major concert, a big music festival, outdoor concert, or something like that. There's normally more than one band on the bill. So let's suppose the situation works out like this. You playing with the headline and act, and you guys go on at, let's say, 10:30 at night. But then there's an act that's around at 6:30 in the afternoon, and their drummer slipped on a banana peel or something happened to the drummer and he can't make it. Now you noticing about half an hour before their show, the band leader of their band is walking around backstage on the phone with the drummer. He's in a panic. The drummer can't make it. He's somewhere hurt, late, or whatever the situation is, and they need another drummer to play with them right away, and you're available. If you do this gig, if you play with that band and then turn around and play with your band later on that night, that's called the festival double dip. I've done it a few times. It's fun because that band that's hiring you for that moment, they need you. You don't really have to know their music well because they want anybody that's a professional to step in and do the job because they just need somebody to fill their drummer's spot. Now here's the thing. When this type of opportunity happens, and if you get asked to play with another band on the same bill, as soon as they ask you, say, hold on, give me a minute. Let me let you know if I can do that. Let me talk to my band leader first. I always ask permission for the band that I'm with, the artist that I'm playing with on my show, if it's okay if I play with another band on the same show. I do this out of courtesy. I don't have to do this, but I do it to show respect. See, this chapter 5 is all about respecting the year. If you show that kind of respect, trust me, it will be noticed. Now, suppose the artist that you're with says, no, I don't want anybody in my band playing with anybody else, so no, I don't want you to do it. Then you don't do it. You don't mention it anymore to them because you don't want an argument. Then you go back to the band that asked you and you politely tell them, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it because my band leader said I can't. Or you don't really have to tell them why. You can just say, no, I'm sorry, but I can't do it. If your band don't mind, go ahead, do it. You can make money twice in one day, and that's great. But here's the rule to this. Don't charge more than what the drummer would have charged that was supposed to be playing, the original drummer. For example, if the original drummer normally gets paid $400 for that particular act, and they say, well, can you sub? Say, sure. All you got to say is, how much do you normally pay your drummer to perform? If they say $200, $400, $500, whatever the money is, take it. It's extra money that you didn't think you was going to see that day, so it's bonus money for you. And if you charge the same amount of money that they would have paid their drummer anyway, not a penny more, it's a favor. But if they say, well, we normally pay our guy $400, and you say, well, I want $5, they're going to give it to you because they're in the bind. They need you. And it is a good opportunity to squeeze an extra bit more. But if you do this, you will never hear from that band again because it's a business transaction at this point. It's not a favor. See, when you do favors in the business, that creates favor for the future. So if you're able to do something cool for a band leader or a band, an artist, you're able to help them in a bind, they may remember you years down the line when you need a gig. You could be recording or working with them within the next year or two. You never know how the future goes. It's good to give favors in this business because they come back tenfold a lot of times. Always ask permission before you bring your partner on a tour with you or to a recording session. Now, normally if you're just playing a gig, a local gig or something, it's okay to bring your partner. Most people don't even notice, and it's expected in a lot of cases. Just make sure that they're taken care of, they have ample seating, and it's fine. But when you're on tour, that's different because that means extra space in the van or the tour bus could be taken up by a whole nother person. And trust me, tour buses get tight the longer the tours last. So if you got a month-long tour and there's 7 members in the band, after about 2 weeks, that tour bus gonna feel tight with 7 people on it. Well, it gets worse if the 8th person is your girlfriend or boyfriend. That type of stuff, it just drives the rest of the band crazy. The only person in the band that's allowed to bring their significant other is the artist, the band leader, the person that's paying you to be there. They could bring their whole family and the dog for that matter, because it's their project, not yours. Do not bring a significant other to the recording studio. Don't do it. It's rude. Here's why. Artists, sometimes they have something that they're creating and they don't want the world to hear it until it's out. They may be subconscious, and at the same time, when you bring a partner to the recording studio, most of the time your partner will be sitting out in the control room on the couch while the band is in the band room playing. When it's time to come back into the control room to listen to the playback, do you really want somebody extra sitting around? The band leader might not like that. They're taking up space and they're hearing art before the rest of the world gets to hear it. This could be very uncomfortable for an artist. Now, some artists don't mind. Some bands, they're cool with it. They like the party vibe. They encourage people to bring their family members and friends. But always ask, because that's having respect for the gig. Another rule I have is respect the music. When I get a call to play a blues gig, I'm expected to show up playing blues. I don't show up to a blues gig playing my best jazz licks or playing gospel licks or reggae licks. Oh no. I play the genre that I'm getting called upon to play. That will keep you working for a long time. Trust me, band leaders do not want to hear Mr. Gospel Chops on a blues gig, and vice versa. If I'm getting called to do a gospel gig, I'm not playing blues shuffles all night. If I get a call to do a jazz gig, I'm not trying to play the reggae one drop. It don't work. Respect the music. Play what you call to play. Be respectful to the genre. When an artist sends you music ahead of time, learn the music and play it as close to it as you can. If you have a song and you hear the drummer playing a shaker, well, play the shaker. That's what they're hiring you for. Bring your shaker. Don't forget it at home. If you hear a tambourine on the snare drum on one of the songs, trust me, bring your tambourine and put it on the snare drum and play it just like you heard it on the record. When you do these little detailed things, that could be the difference that keep you working. So, anytime you working, be authentic as possible. If there's a song with brushes, bring your brushes. If the song requires mallets, play your mallets. Be versatile, but play the record. Trust me, if you execute the record first and your creativity second, artists love that. That's what keeps me working. The fact that I play the music authentically. I play the music just like it's performed on the record. That's what keeps me working. Another rule that I have, never ask for a solo. I love when I'm playing a gig and I'm just, doing my thing. I'm playing pocket all night long. And then I hear a person in the audience say, "Give the drummer some!" I love that because the audience is asking for a solo, not me. I had a gig one time. I was playing the gig, and the grooves was just slamming. I was playing pocket all night, and I had been working on double bass and all this stuff, flams and quadruples and singles and doubles all week long. So my chops was really up. When your chops is really up. And I asked for a solo. And I could tell that the artist knew that I could play, and he didn't mind giving a solo, but it was just bad timing because I could tell the artist was like, "Oh, you want some? Well, here you go." So he turns around and I do my thing, and the vibe just wasn't right. The crowd went crazy, everybody enjoyed it, but I just felt some type of tension between me and the artist just by asking for a solo. So after the gig, I talked to him. I said, "Hey man, everything okay?" He's like, "Oh man, well you killed that solo, but you should just wait till I give you one." It's like, oh. So I just learned from that. I never asked for a solo again. I don't even know why he said that, but now that I'm thinking about it, it wasn't my gig or my place to be constructing his show. See, that's his show. I should have just waited until I was off of one. So I learned from that. I remember that. I stopped asking for solos because a lot of times you might want something that the artist don't want you to do. So don't ever ask for a drum solo or whatever instrument you play. If you play bass, guitar, whatever you play, let it be offered to you. And when they offer it to you, kill it. There's a dress code that goes with every genre of music that's being played. And I believe when you get a call for a gig, you should dress accordingly for the gig. For example, if it's a traditional blues gig, most traditional blues gigs require you to dress just like if you was playing for a church gig, a gospel gig. Slacks, dress shoes, shined up, nice suit coats, your hair looking as best as you can make it, maybe a nice button-up shirt, but you dress nice. You dress up, because that's what traditional blues gigs require. And then if you playing at most churches, formal churches, that's what most church gigs require. Now, if you playing hip hop, you might dress a little bit more loose. The thing is, every gig has a dress code. Now, if you get a call last minute for a gig and you don't know quite how to dress for the gig, go on YouTube, look the band up, and see how they dress. Watch a few videos. Monitor what the drummer sounds like that you're going to be replacing so you know what kind of job you're stepping into. But also, look at what they're wearing and try to dress accordingly. If you see the band all dressed up in suit and ties, well, bring your suit and tie. If they dress more down, more casually, then you do the same. Now, another easy way to quell this whole thing about what should you wear, when you get the call, just ask the band leader, what's the dress code? What should I wear? Some bands are really, really loose, and they just say, oh man, just show up on time, wear whatever. But then some bands you play with, like a wedding band or wedding reception, they might have very specific things that they want you to wear. And you must dress accordingly. That is part of being a professional. Never sell your merchandise on another person's gig unless you ask. For example, if I get a call for a gig, I might want to bring a few of my books. You got the gig, here's how to keep it. This will be a great piece of merchandise for me to sell at anybody's gig. During the set break or after the gig at the merchandise table, I can sit down and sign books and sell them. But I would never dream of doing this on somebody else's gig unless I ask permission first. I always ask before I'm selling personal merchandise on somebody else's gig, and you should too. If you got t-shirts, books, music to sell, whatever, make sure you ask. Another rule is never promote your personal gig on somebody else's gig. For example, if you have a band or a project that you do on the side and you own somebody else's gig, you're playing for somebody and your gig is coming up next week, don't start selling yourself on their show. Don't grab the mic and say, hey, everybody, come to my gig next week while you're on their platform. You don't do that. Don't pass out flyers for your personal gig on somebody else's gig. Don't do it. Trust me, it's just taboo. It's not the move. Always respect somebody else's gig and somebody else's platform because they worked really hard to get that platform. Every band leader, every artist worked very hard to get where they are today. They don't need you to be promoting your stuff on their stuff. It's just not the right move to do. Respect the gig. I want to take this time to tell everybody, subscribe to my channel. I have more videos coming out like this. I'm always giving advice, and I talk about the things that you're not going to find on other YouTube videos. These things are the unwritten rules that goes with playing drums and being a working drummer. So be sure to subscribe. Hit the like button. Okay, get your copy. You got the gig, here's how to keep it. A working musician's model for success. You can find this on Amazon. Also, you can find it on my website, andrewblazetimeless.com. Okay, this has been a presentation from your favorite drummer and Blues Music Award winner, Andrew Blaze Timeless. Thank you so much for tuning in, and definitely be on the lookout for my next video. I've got more on the way.